Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a book video. I've not done a book video in a wee while and I really like reading. I really like talking about books, and I know that I have a few comments actually from people saying that they like watching me talk about books and they just like book videos in general. I watch loads of book videos on YouTube because I just think it's a really kind part of the world. Like, social media can be really negative and everybody has an opinion about everything nowadays, and whenever I come to the book part of Instagram or YouTube, it's always very kind and positive and lovely. And also I really love reading, and I get a lot of my recommendations and stuff that I like to read from online. So today I thought I would film all the books I've read so far this year. We're halfway through the year, and so I wanted to kind of talk about some of the books I've read. I want to really try and read loads more in the next part of the year. It's quite easy to get into, like, I read every night in the bath and I read every night in bed, and it's really lovely to, like, before you have your whole day and then you go into your evening going into another world. I just really love that. But I really want to read more books in the next half of this year, and I'm going to be doing a couple of reading challenges and I'm going to film them, and there's a little part of me somewhere that feels quite self-conscious about that, so I wanted to ease myself in by doing this video, but also I want to just not feel self-conscious about that, because why should I? So let's talk about the books I've read so far in 2020. I have some 3-star reads, some 4-star reads and some 5-star reads. I rate my books out of 5. I use the Goodreads app. If you want to check out the Goodreads app, I absolutely love it. And so most of my books have been 3 to 5 stars. I've not read anything that has been absolutely awful. Okay, there was maybe one that was 2, but I think I was being a bit harsh. So let's start with that one and we'll finish with the 5 stars. It's always nice to finish on a high. So the book I gave 2 stars to is George Orwell's Animal Farm. I think I would give it maybe, I don't know, it's so difficult to rate this one because obviously it's a classic, and obviously it was written I think in the 1930s, and so it's obviously a very political book. It's about, I'm sure most of you know what it's about, but it's about a farm of animals, and the animals start to take over the farm and get the humans out, and they come up with a list of rules, and there's like a hierarchy in the animal kingdom, and it's very political and it's obviously talking about politics rather than actually animals taking over a farm. That's all obvious and all said and done and everybody knows that. But it was just really, like, I feel like this book could have been half the amount of pages and it would have still done the same thing. I just thought it was just a bit like, I wouldn't really enjoy it. So that's why I gave it 2 stars. I'd probably give it 2.5, but I know that there's many reasons more to love this book. The fact that it was obviously a very, it's been a very prevalent book in many aspects, but I just didn't really love reading it, so giving it a 2.5. Moving on to Never Greener by Ruth Jones. Ruth Jones, she plays Nessa and Gavin and Stacey, and I think I saw this, I think it was a second-hand book I just picked up, and one of the things I really liked about it was set in Edinburgh and it was set near where I live, so I thought that part was really interesting. The general storyline was really good and I liked the story, but none of the characters were particularly that likeable. I didn't really love anybody, and I think that's probably quite important when you're reading a book. It was also very long for, again, what I feel like could have been half the pages and would have been much more enjoyable. But it was over 500 pages. It just was a bit like parts of, I don't know, you knew what was going to happen and you were kind of just waiting around for it to happen. So yeah, that's my feelings on it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because I did enjoy the book, but it was just like, there was parts of it that I was like, oh, am I still reading this? So that's what I thought. The next book I read was The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry by Rachel Joyce. I'm so not sure what I felt. I really liked this book a lot, and the problem with having a 5-star rating system is I'm giving this 3 stars and this 3 stars, although I liked this a lot more, but 5 stars is just so little and there's so many things that you want to rate about a book. I really enjoyed reading this. It's about an elderly man who decides one day to walk, how many miles? I can't even remember how many miles it is. But he decides to walk from one end of the country to the other because he wants to save somebody else's life. He leaves his house with no walking boots, no idea that he was going to do it, and walks from one end of the country to the other. And there's just so many beautiful moments of resilience and bravery and human beings communicating, and there were so many really, really interesting things about this book. Again, this is a book that I found at a book swap and I wouldn't probably have picked it up otherwise, but I really, really enjoyed it. There was something really nice about the resilience and the repetitiveness. Sometimes I did want it to speed up though. Sometimes there were parts of it that I was like, it is, while it's repetitive and I liked that part of it, sometimes it was a bit slow. But I did really enjoy this book. I think I would definitely recommend for people to pick this up. It was really interesting and nothing like I've ever read before. Next we have The Art of Rest. This is by Claudia Hammond. Again, another 3-star read. I really liked this book. I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was very accessible. One of the things, it's basically her and a team of people did a research study that covered, how many people? I can't remember. Was it? I think it was quite a lot of people. Thousands of people, and they asked them certain questions on rest, and basically this is her findings. And there was many parts of it that I really liked. I really liked her part on watching TV. She talked a lot about how there's a lot of snobbery around TV watching, but actually it's a really good way to rest, and I found that really good. And yeah, it was a very accessible read, but there wasn't anything in it that was groundbreaking for me. It was quite like, it was interesting, but there was nothing that was like, oh my god, I never thought about it like that, or anything like that. For me, it was quite basic. So that's why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I kind of was like, not massively impressed, but it was a good book. It was relaxing, and so yeah, it does deserve 3 out of 5 stars, but there was nothing like incredible about it. Got my Diet Coke. Always, always, always have a Diet Coke. Next book was Our Stop by Laura Williams. This is like such a good book if you're going on holiday, which nobody probably is right now, but it's a really good book I can imagine for lying by a pool and just like going through it. It's a very easy read about a man who spots a woman on a train, and he keeps seeing her on a train every single morning and puts an ad in a column of a paper saying that he really likes her and wants to meet her. And so a lot of the book was about them just missing each other, which I found quite annoying actually. Like a lot of it, at the beginning it was like, oh, they keep just missing each other, and then after a while it was like, right, go and just make them meet now because this is actually getting very annoying. So that was the reason I gave it 3 rather than 4. It was a really good read. There was lots in it that was very nice and sweet, but yeah, it got really annoying when you're just like, come on, get to the point we want. It was predictable, you knew it was going to happen, you're just waiting for it. So 3 out of 5. The next book was History of Wolves. This was a very interesting and unique read. The writing was very unique. I've not really read anything like it before, and parts of the writing could be quite confusing sometimes because she was going from different tenses and some of it was quite confusing. It's about a girl who lives on an ex-commune with her family, and new neighbours move in across the lake from her, and she starts to babysit their son, and it's about the relationship between all of those people, especially her and the mum that she babysits for. And I mean, I think after that anything else would probably be a bit of a spoiler, but it was just written in a very unique and interesting way, and the twists and the plot is very unpredictable. You definitely, I don't think, would predict what happens. Yeah, I've never read anything like it, and it did feel like it was much longer than it actually was. I think because there was just so much that happened, and I don't know, it was just it was written in a very strange way, and the contents was quite strange as well. So it was just an all around quite a strange, odd book, but I am glad I read it because it was very unique. It does go a bit off at times, but like I said, the story is not predictable at all, and it is a really good read, and the writing is very good. It was just a bit strange. I think that's all I have for 3-star books, so I'm now going to be moving on to the 4 stars, starting with Big Girl Small Town. I read this in my 24-hour reading challenge that I did. I'll link that down below if you want to watch it, because I love watching 24-hour readathon vlogs. I love things that are nerdy. I just do. I'm trying to embrace that more and just be myself online. And so this is what I'm doing. But I did give this, I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think partly because when you read something in one sitting or in one day, I think you're going to like it because you're not stopping and starting, you're just invested in the story all the way through. This is about a girl who lives in Ireland. The book is set over 1 week and it follows her normal routine of working in a chip shop, but also deals with the issue that her grandma's died. So there's lots of things going on in her relationship with her mum. It's quite a difficult relationship and there's lots to it, but the way this is written is absolutely amazing. I really loved the way this was written. It was very unique. The main girl, Magella, has autism and she doesn't know that she does. And so everything is very regimented and bullet pointed and there's a specific way she likes to have things done. But it was very real and honest and at times quite vulgar and quite out there, but overall I thought this was a really, really, really good book. I really liked the repetitiveness of it. Having worked in the hospitality industry, it was really funny to see her like having the customers come in. She knew exactly what they were going to have, she knew exactly how the night was going to go. It was just overall really good book. I would definitely recommend this one. It was very unique. My next 4 out of 5 was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, and this is the same author as Gone Girl, and this was really good. I really enjoyed this book. It was so creepy. Leading up to the creepiness was just like, it just gradually got creepier and creepier, and the main twist in the story was definitely not predictable. I did not see it coming and it was really creepy and I loved it. It's about a girl who has to go back to her hometown to write for a newspaper that she works for, following the 2 murders of 2 little girls, and she has to interview different people. She has to try and get as much of the story as she can while talking to different police members and different members of the community. She has to go back and live with her mum, who she has a really weird relationship with, and her sister and her stepdad, and it was really creepy. It was really, really creepy and I loved it. It was so, so good. It wasn't one that made me, in fact I think it did make, I read this one in the bath and I live on my own, and so I was quite like, is there someone else here? It was weird, but I absolutely loved it. Definitely 4 out of 5 stars. I think Gillian Flynn's just such a good writer. Next we had The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. I have very mixed feelings on this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars because I read this in bed when I was very, very tired, so I feel like I would have given it a 3 out of 5, but I feel like I wasn't giving it the justice it deserved because I was very tired when I read it. But there was lots of things about it that I just found quite boring and samey and confusing actually at times, and because it jumped from different characters quite a lot, sometimes I was like, who am I actually reading from? I can't remember who I'm meant to be reading about. There was some parts of it that I was like, oh, I love this, and I am a massive fan of The Handmaid's Tale, particularly the TV show. I absolutely love the TV show, and I've obviously read the first Handmaid's Tale, but this one, I think Margaret seemed confused, if I'm honest. I don't know if it's a TV series, I don't know what's going on with her. I hope she's okay, because this book was confusing, but there was definitely loads in the book that was definitely worthwhile and definitely deserved to be in a book, but there was bits of it too that were just like, what is going on? I'd like to quickly apologise about the lighting. It's very dark today, and I decided to film here because this feels like a good book spot. I also think my camera is in a weird setting, but I'm not very good with cameras. I just point the lens and then press record. I'm not very good with knowing camera settings, so I hope the content is so amazing that you don't mind. Next we have The Flatshare, which was another 4-star book. I really, really like this book. I don't really read romancy kind of books very often because I can find them very cringe. I hate when everything's just like really good and then at the ending everyone's happy. It's just really ugh. But this one was really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and it was, again, would be a really good holiday book. So it's about a girl who has to move into a flat because her and her partner finish, and she not only has to move into a new flat, she obviously also has to move into the same bed as this man. They both have alternate work schedules, so it means they're never in the flat at the same time, but they start to leave each other notes, and it's really, really nice. I just think the story is just so sweet, and I just kind of wanted... It's just nice sometimes to read something that's just really sweet and nice and just positive and nothing doomy and gloomy, and just... There was parts of it that were obviously like, oh, what's going to happen, but for the most part it was just very cute and I really, really enjoyed it. So definitely a 4 out of 5 for me. I only give things 5 out of 5 when they're very good. So 4 out of 5. Next we have Educated by Tara Westover. This was so interesting. It's a true story about Tara's experience of growing up in a cult. Her dad believed that the government and doctors and teachers were trying to brainwash people, and so she didn't go to school, she never went to doctors, they did everything holistically, and she worked with her dad rather than ever going to school or learning, and they believed in holistic medicine for everything, no matter your ailment. There was definitely massive physical and psychological abuse in this book, so definitely a warning on that if you don't want to read about that. But I thought it was a really good book. So much bravery, so much resilience, such an amazing woman, and I just think this was going into somebody else's world that I never would have gone into, and it was just really interesting to hear about how she was brought up and how that shaped her now. It was very sad at points, but overall absolutely amazing book, very interesting, so I would definitely recommend this one. Next we have Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This is a book about 12 different black women living in the UK, and they all have very different experiences, living in completely different backgrounds, but they all have a link to each other in some way. The last little portion of the book I found quite confusing, which is why it's only been a 4 star. Again, don't know if that's because I was just getting really tired, but I'd say the first like 3/4 of the book were absolutely amazing. Like with any book that has 12 different stories, there's some that I enjoyed more than others, found more interesting than others, but all of them were very well written. And Bernardine, I think, is an absolutely amazing writer. I thought this was really good. And it was just, yeah, it was a real pleasure being able to go into these 12 different women's lives. But like I said, the reason it's only a 4 star is because the last little bit I just found quite confusing and I don't really know why. But I would definitely recommend reading this book, because I think Bernardine is an extremely good writer. The last 4 star book I have is The Tattoos of Auschwitz. I really enjoyed this book, and when I went to read the reviews on Goodreads that other people did, a lot of people did not enjoy this book, and I was quite surprised by that. It's by Heather Morris, who knew the main character Lael personally, so she has written this book on behalf of Lael, and this is his true experience of being the tattooist in Auschwitz. And so when people would come into the concentration camps, he would tattoo the number on their arm to mark what number they were of concentration camp prisoners. It was obviously very difficult to read, and in parts was just like, oh my god, and I kept forgetting that it was real, this happened, because I've not read that many books about Auschwitz before, especially stories told in this way. And so yeah, I found it really amazing, and I heard that some people thought it was romanticised, and I definitely didn't feel that way. I felt like it was absolutely harrowing and horrible, but I think because Lael met somebody that he really loved in the concentration camp, people thought it was romanticised, but I didn't feel that way. I felt like that was just adding a really interesting dimension to the book, and it was true. This was all a true story, so it was from Lael's point of view, written by Heather Morris. So yeah, I 100% recommend this one. I've also got The Librarian of Auschwitz, which I'm really looking forward to reading, but I definitely recommend this. I thought this was a really great book, and just from start to finish I was just so interested in Lael and his whole story, and I thought that Heather wrote it really well, so I'd recommend this. And my last 2 books are both 5 stars. I'm going to start with The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. If anybody's not picked this up yet, it is absolutely beautiful, full of wisdom and love and kindness, and just so lovely. It is illustrated all the way through by Charlie Maxey, and I was given this book as a gift, and it was just so beautiful. Any page you open it on is just gorgeous. I've brought it into the office I work in a couple of times and just said, everybody just flick through it on your break because it's just so beautiful. I think if you're ever going through a hard time, it obviously takes only about half an hour to read, and it just fills you with joy and kindness, especially when things are difficult right now in so many ways and so much is going on, I think this is just a really special thing. And I absolutely love this book. I think I will treasure it for a long time. And my very last book, which I actually finished last night, is Queenie. And I gave this 100% 5 out of 5 stars. Everything about this book was amazing. I thought the writing was amazing. I just completely fell in love with Queenie. The author is Candice Carty-Williams, and she's such a phenomenal writer that I was just in love with Queenie from start to finish. I really was in love with her. I thought that just the way she told this story, Queenie was a very, very self-conscious, anxious person who was just went through so much in this book, and you just were there with her when she went through everything. From a personal note, I really like that Candice talked about Queenie's experience of therapy. So Queenie started to have panic attacks and had to go to therapy, and she had a series of panic attacks in this book, which at times I found a bit triggering for me because I suffer with panic attacks, but the way they were written were very, very true, and I've been there, and I was just with Queenie so much. And she talks a lot about racism and her experiences of racism in dating and the disgusting things she has to experience dating in the UK. And she talks about racism in her workplace, and she talks about the Black Lives Matter movement and marches, and she talks about her friendships with people. And I just think everything was kind of covered from like a 20-something-year-old black woman living in the UK. I just felt like everything was in here, and I just thought it was just absolutely amazing, and I'm really upset that it's finished now. Unfortunately I did read it in the bath, so it's not looking great, but I just cannot recommend this enough. Out of every book I've mentioned here, this is the #1 book that I would recommend. I just loved it. I really, really loved it. Oh! I talked so much there. I'm not used to living on my own. I'm not used to talking to anyone, so I'm just like, that was a lot of talking. Yeah, there wasn't any books that I've read so far this year that's been really, really bad. And there's been a couple that I've been like, oh my god, that's changed things in my world. And some that were just really enjoyable, and I've just been loving reading recently, really loving it, and I just love that we have the opportunity to go into different worlds whenever we want to. I just think reading's a really beautiful thing, and I'm really excited to do some more reading challenges this year, and I'm going to try and get rid of the anxiety that says that I am, I think it's ego that makes me feel like I want to be cool, I want to be relatable, I want to be blah 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 blah, but the bottom line is I want to be authentic, and I find reading and reading challenges and stuff really fun, and I'm going to do them more, and I hope that you also do. And I hope that you enjoyed watching today's video. I hope that there's some books in there that you want to now read. You can go and follow my Goodreads if you would like to, if you'd like to see me what other books I'm going to read this year. And other than that, thank you very much for watching today, and I will see you soon. Bye!